What is up, scoundrels and card players? Welcome back to another episode of Sabacc the Block. I am here from Your Money Geek, from Let's Talk About Star Wars. I have Miss Maggie Lovitt in the house. How are you doing, Maggie?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. What a crazy time to be a Star Wars fan, right?
Seriously, so much new content on the horizon.
Yeah, it's been a nutty couple weeks, guys. I am so excited to talk Star Wars with you. I am just getting the chance to know you right now. But something I like to do for every guest I have on is to kind of do a little rundown as far as their Star Wars fandom, as far as how it started, who's their favorite, what's their go-to moment. So let's kind of go as far as like how it started when it comes to your Star Wars journey.
Oh gosh. So I am a prequel era baby. I first saw The Phantom Menace in theaters when I was 6 years old. It was like my first introduction into Star Wars. I remember going to see the film with my dad opening weekend. My parents had seen Star Wars when it was originally in theaters, so I think they were excited to introduce me to this whole, something that they were familiar with. And I distinctly remember being like, oh, well, at least it's like cool and quiet in the movie theater. Like, I'll take a nap. Like, I totally was like not like into it. Cause you know how kids are when like you find out your parents like something, you're like, I don't know about that. And then like that opening crawl started and like the film just like sucked me in. And I remember after the film, I was just like, I want more. Like, where can I get more? And I was an advanced reader for my age. So my mom was like, let's go to Borders. I think they have like Star Wars books, which introduced me to the expanded universe pretty early on. And it's been, 22 years this May.
Wow, that's incredible. So it did start with like the Phantom Menace kind of thing?
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
I really loved Qui-Gon Jinn. Like, you would think that Anakin would have been like my first like big favorite character because the age, similarities. Nah, it was Qui-Gon Jinn. I was devastated. It has taken me years to now actually like Maul because I was like, you killed my favorite character as a child.
Yeah, I felt this exact same way about Darth Maul, where I was like, Darth Maul, no. As a kid, I fell in love when those two doors opened up, and I was like, this is my homie. Like, this is the dude right here, the Michael Jordan of Star Wars. And then he dies like 10 minutes later, and I was devastated as an 8-year-old.
It was so traumatizing for kids.
It was really traumatizing, especially like getting to know him and being like, yo, this guy's amazing, and then losing him. Looking back at it now, though, Phantom Menace, like Qui-Gon Jinn's a badass in that movie.
He really is.
He's so cool. Like, he backtalks like royalty. Like, he commands the room. He like gambles when he wants to. He disobeys like the most powerful Jedis in the universe. Like, the guy's like literally a gangster in that movie, and I love Qui-Gon in that movie. I think he's incredible. That's really cool. So as far as like, one thing I really like to do is kind of talk about when it comes to your Star Wars journey. What's a moment specifically, whether it be like you at a movie theater, you with your friends, you with your parents, some sort of family connection, or like an in-story moment that kind of drew you inside the Star Wars universe, and that's something that you kind of cherish, if there is one. If not, you can name like one or two.
Oh gosh, I have one really vivid memory of being like 12 or 13. I was homeschooled, so like I did like summer camps during the summertime to like get interaction with like other kids. And I have this really distinct memory of being on the bus to camp and turning around and seeing these 4 kids that were wearing Star Wars shirts. And I was like, oh my God, I love Star Wars. And then we ended up being on like the same camp team for the week. And we would like braid Padawan braids into our hair. And I thought I was never going to see these kids again. And we came up with like Star Wars characters and like all of this different stuff. And like, we still remember some of our like characters we came up with as kids. And I thought I was never going to see them again. I ran into them by chance like 4 years after that. And then I've been friends with them. Like, now that we're adults, like, we're not as close as we were before, but like I still like actively know about their lives, and like we still talk to each other, and it's all because of Star Wars. And I always say that like if I hadn't gone to that camp and if I hadn't talked to them about Star Wars, like so many different things wouldn't have happened in my life. So it's definitely like Star Wars is an integral part of my existence now.
Yeah, and I almost feel like that might be, I don't know if it is for you, but it might be the case when it comes to this kind of strange online world that we currently live in. As negative as I've seen these past 5-6 years, me personally, me specifically, as far as like the introduction of The Force Awakens and what came of that inside the Star Wars community, going from being a fan of certain YouTube channels to being a fan of certain podcasts to making my own podcast to like being on Jedi Council for a short amount of time and then being off Jedi Council very quickly after that. It's been kind of an up and down journey. But one thing I have seen is I've seen that kind of connection come back in a weird way. I don't know if you've noticed this, but maybe I've seen the positive side of Star Wars this last year, specifically throughout quarantine, when I'm able to connect to people like you who don't live in California and LA and just be like, hey, you like Star Wars? Me, I like Star Wars too. That kind of connection. I don't know if you've had that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've done so many live streams through quarantine and I've made so many really like solid friendships online because of Star Wars. It's been incredible.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and I've gotten a chance to meet a lot of Star Wars people that I've never met before, and just connect with them and actually DM and message them and have a lot of fun talking about it. It is cool. I like it a lot because I always felt alone when it comes to my Star Wars fandom, which for anyone who's been following this show and anyone who knows me knows I'm very much like, I like the sequels a lot and I like the new Star Wars stuff quite a bit. So it's always kind of like, it's not cool to like it or whatever on the internet, but it's always been my thing where I do love it. So connecting to people who do love it has been a lot of fun for me. Let's do a quick, like, if you had to do a Mount Rushmore all-time Star Wars characters kind of thing, who are some of your favorites?
So Cassian Andor is probably hands down my favorite Star Wars character, just because that character ended up becoming like meaning so much more than he meant in just like the show, like just the timing of Rogue One and just like that entire film is monumental for me as a person. So Cassian's definitely the first person on Mount Rushmore. Oh gosh, probably Ben Solo. I do love Ben Solo.
That's a good one.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Hey,
like who mentioned, and then probably Din Djarin.
Wow.
Definitely.
Wow. Yeah, two of those guys I relate to quite a bit. I always said that there was this what is it, like Twitter prompt going around a couple weeks ago where it was like, who's your Star Wars energy? I'm like, I'm Cassian Andor.
I love that.
Like angry Mexican dude. That's me. Who's literally like, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. I'm like, that's me, bro. I feel you. I feel that. I feel that spicy Latino space vibe, bro. So I totally feel you on that. That's really cool. Mine always changes. I always put Hera up there. Obi-Wan's clearly my number one by quite a bit. Hera's up there. I already mentioned that. I'll probably put Rey up there too. She's definitely one of my favorites all time as well.
Got some quality picks there.
Yeah. I love those characters so much. Let's quickly go to the Star Wars news, and the only news topic I have today kind of coincides with our main theme today, Maggie, which is all about Asian creators in the Star Wars universe. And I want to take this opportunity to say, obviously, to anyone watching and to anyone listening, that this is you can give out your Streamlabs, your super chats, your likes, and your comments. But as far as my part, anything that you guys donate will 100% go to stop AIP hate.org. I am personally donating everything that I get towards that movement right now, because I feel like this is a current time where it's so easy to quickly move on from one tragedy to another and forget certain acts of violence. And like I said a couple days ago in my podcast, this isn't about necessarily taking away resources or time or effort towards other movements like Black Lives Matter or certain movements that are going on the border that I'm very personally connected to, because that's where a lot of my family is. So I'm always concerned about the border. This isn't about us ignoring that. It's about us realizing what's also there. And what's also there is a lot of crimes against Asian communities, against Pacific Islanders, against people of Asian descent all over the country in the US. And it's one of those things that I want to pay attention to. And I want to take the opportunity to realize what a beautiful community and what a beautiful connection that a lot of Asian storytellers have inside Star Wars, and that could be in front of and behind the camera. So later on in the episode, we're going to be talking more about that. But I want to start with talking about Star Wars Visions, which is the new anime Star Wars show that is coming out a little bit later on. It is one of the Star Wars shows that they have lined up, which is officially a Star Wars, basically shorts for 10 individual shorts created by actual anime creators, like legendary anime creators in Japan, telling different Star Wars stories. And most of them, I think, are supposed to be original. I don't know if you know more about that than I do, Maggie.
I think that's what they announced.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be like original stories created by anime storytellers. And this kind of leads me into a new novel that they announced called Ronin, which is being written by Emma Mako. I'm going to butcher her name. Emma Miko Candon, who is currently working on this novel called Ronin, inspired by one of these shorts. I want to get your quick thoughts on Visions first. Like, what do you think of that when you first heard that kind of concept coming into Star Wars?
I'm so excited about it. You know, I'm always for more inclusivity when it comes to the storytelling, as well as the casting and the creators and everyone involved. So this was like right up my alley when they announced this. Also, I tend to think anime brings a different type of storytelling that we haven't seen yet in Star Wars. I know, of course, Star Wars is heavily influenced by, you know, some of the samurai films, but it'll be really interesting to see how they create these stories, because I think they just give a different quality. They focus more on different aspects of the storytelling. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, that's another part of my conversation. Are you an anime fan by any chance?
I don't know. I used to watch anime when I was like in middle school, but yeah. I kind of fell off that boat when I was in high school, unfortunately.
Yeah, I went hard right back on it when I was in college. And now I'm like the anime guru of like my social sphere. I have so much anime channels and thoughts and comments and anime poster in my background right now. Yeah, I love anime, and it's always one of those things to me where I've been following anime since I was a kid, back in the Toonami days, when I was watching Gundam and Dragon Ball and all that. But one thing I can say is Star Wars, I don't know how closely you follow, I think you do, like box office and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Star Wars has always kind of had like not as strong of a foothold inside the Asian markets when it comes to their box office and their films. And I always felt like if Star Wars can tap into that kind of market and that kind of power, it would be kind of a no-brainer, because currently right now, anime is still one of the biggest forms of storytelling in the world. Oh, yeah. Anime, right? One of the biggest show in the world right now is actually the show that I'm currently doing an after show on a weekly basis and currently geeking out on, and that's Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is the biggest show in the world by a mile. And it's being watched and engaged by more fans all over the world than any other show, even in America, which is something that's really interesting. If you look up some stats on a website, talks about engagement from a TV show. It is the highest engaged show in the US. So that goes to show you the power of anime. And I've always felt like if Star Wars can tap into that and make the animation storytelling that they've had in the past be slightly more, I don't want to say aged up, but aged up as far as the kind of storytelling you can tell, I think that'd be kind of cool. You can tap into more of a worldwide market. Am I right there, or am I kind of reaching? Oh no,
you're completely, like, that's what I'm hoping with this new series, that they're going to tap into that different style of storytelling and, you know, see what happens. I'm hyped for it.
Yeah. Do you think that's gonna, because obviously Star Wars has never done this before as far as like officially anime. Do you think this is going to actually be a success as far as compared to maybe the other shows, the live action shows?
You know, I think it should be. But I know that there's still fans that don't watch Clone Wars or Rebels or Resistance because they're cartoons. So I'm sure it'll fall prey to that same kind of sentiment. But I think it's going to be new Star Wars, and we're constantly hungry for new Star Wars. So I'm sure it'll be another one of, you know, Disney Plus's like best watched, most watched series when it premieres.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I feel like it kind of goes vice versa, right? Where Star Wars fans don't really watch animated stuff either, or anime, at least not that I know. Because I feel like most people who watch Rebels and appreciate Rebels will be the ones who watch it, and it's kind of hard to get people into it. Like you said, they take it as like kid shows. But I feel like anime is such a distinct art form that
It is.
automatically ages it up, whether you've seen movies like Akira or Ghost in the Shell, clearly, you know, R-rated, you know, heavy adult themes kind of stories. I'm curious if they present that form of animation storytelling inside Star Wars, if that might get people our age to be like, you know what, I'm down, I'm gonna watch it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I hope so, because I really do feel like that's an untapped market that the Star Wars community, that Lucasfilm in general hasn't really tapped into. And it's just genius. If you've seen even the, I love the little animated shorts that, what is that called? The like 1 minute.
Like the rollouts. Was it the rollouts? That had like BB-8 that rolled out.
I don't know if it's the rollouts, but it's the one where they're like the Skywalker saga, and it shows like Luke and doing like crazy battles. I'm sure someone in the comment section will
I'm told
point it out for me.
There was Forces of Destiny rollout.
Is it Forces of Destiny? I think it might have been.
Destiny.
It might be that, where they're just kind of showing you like a really stylized form of what you've seen before as far as in the films. And I geeked out every time. I was just like, this is so cool. Make it an anime, please. Forces of Destiny might be it. I would even that, if you take that kind of storytelling and put it into an animated format, maybe you could get something really special. And I think my next question to you, Maggie, is like, what does this novel say to the confidence that Lucasfilm currently has for Visions?
I think it's good. That they're wanting to create this tie-in market. I mean, their publishing is so strong. You know, with the High Republic, you know, being on the New York Times bestseller list for multiple weeks, I think the publishing initiatives that they've been rolling out have been some of their strongest in a long time. So as soon as they announced new book, I was like, yes, like sign me up. I'm ready for it. Send it my way. I'm ready to read it.
Yeah, and it also kind of goes to show you, like you said, the success of the books that are going on right now, and the success right now of the Asian storytellers that they currently have on board with them. Obviously, I want to talk about Deborah Chow a little bit later on in the episode. But if you think about it, creators like Deborah Chow, who are being brought on board as not only directors, but like directors and showrunners and developers and producers, who are kind of overseeing series now and actual major stories. And when we look at almost pretty much, I'm pretty sure every single creator that's going to be on board for Visions is an Asian storyteller. How that goes to show you the confidence that they have in them as well. I really do feel like a lot of people, I don't know if I want to say this, but I think a lot of people forget the amazing stories that we get from all over the world, whether it be movies from Hong Kong or movies from Korea, or anime from Japan. Like, there really are such special storytellers on an international format that I think people last year, maybe the year before, might have gotten a little bit of taste of it with Parasite, as far as like, hey, there's quality filmmaking that might be better than anything we have here currently all the way across the world. That I feel like it only makes sense for Lucasfilm to tap into that. And they are, right? Because isn't the DP of the new Obi-Wan show also a Korean DP,
I believe
right?
so. Yes.
Yeah, he's the DP for The Handmaiden, right? That Korean movie that came out.
Yes, I remember reading the article about that.
Yeah, so that kind of goes to show you for years now how Lucasfilm and how Star Wars has been connected to Asian storytellers in the Asian community for years. And it kind of leads into my second conversation for today, Maggie, which is about Asian creators in Star Wars. And specifically, I want to start with Doug Chiang, someone who goes to me personally, someone who goes hand to hand with the vision, no pun intended, of what Star Wars is and the creation of Star Wars, the look of Star Wars, the feel of Star Wars. That was something that was said quite a bit for the run up to The Force Awakens, but that's a real thing as far as like, how does Star Wars feel? And obviously all credit to Ralph McQuarrie, who kind of originated the entire feel and look of Star Wars, and George Lucas as well. But what Doug Chiang did as a designer, as the head designer for the prequels and for a lot of the other Star Wars films that came to be and the Star Wars films before, was a different look and a different vibe and a lot of ingenuity inside the Star Wars world. What do you think of Doug's work in retrospect, especially since you watched his films in theaters?
I think it's so different, and it really allowed the prequels to have its own feeling, its own existence outside of the original trilogy. And it's something that even with like the Mandalorian and with his work on the Mandalorian and the way he talks about his design work and his roots and the prequels, it's clear that the man knows what he is doing. He is creating something that is going to be memorable for generations to come.
Yeah, have you seen his presentation at Star Wars Celebration 2019
I haven't.
or part of it?
I haven't. No.
So he kind of like runs down like everything he's done as far as like, you know, like, hey, this is what it was like designing for George. It was crazy. But if you really look at sci-fi storytelling, like I have, because I'm a nerd and I'm a geek, my favorite director in my favorite set of films, obviously Star Wars, but my second favorite is Ridley Scott's Alien. And I'm a Ridley Scott stan, like a stan. Like I love Ridley Scott, and I watch like a lot of like behind the scenes and what he did with Giger, H.R. Giger, the guy who designed the alien itself and the alien spaceship, and a lot of the art design that was inside that film in 1979 was pretty original. And obviously it led to Blade Runner, which again is another original sci-fi storytelling that led to the cyberpunk movement. And obviously led to a lot of cyberpunk anime that I've watched over the years. It really does kind of set the tone, set the pace, set the feel for what the film is going to be. And that's kind of a powerful statement, but it's true, where all you need is like a piece of art is what inspired a lot of what Star Wars is. And obviously that's Ralph McQuarrie's art form. But a lot of what Doug did for the prequels and for the new Star Wars films was kind of design and originate completely new ideas and completely new ways to look at different worlds. And he had to develop like actual planets, which I thought was really cool. But that 2019 video is really cool. I highly recommend it. Have you seen the behind the scenes for the Phantom Menace, where he's like in the background going crazy and painting, right? Isn't that so cool?
I love it.
Yeah, he's like geeking out. He's like, George, what'd you think of this? What'd you think of this? And he's like showing him stuff, and like
to have been able to be in the room with those two minds. So
yeah, he designed the one of the coolest looking ships, which is the N1 Naboo starfighter, which is what a lot of people consider to be one of the coolest designed.
It is the coolest designed ship.
Yeah, a lot of people think that. Yeah, a lot of people say it's their favorite one, and that's Doug Chiang. So is all the pod racers. Every single pod racer is him. The Naboo castles is him. The Masa Espa arena, that's him. Doug designed a lot of what Star Wars is. Obviously, Coruscant, that's also Doug. So pretty much any building inside Coruscant is Doug's mind somehow. It's really cool. The Droidicas is also his design. The B-1 battle droids, the super battle droids. All stuff that really do add so much flavor and originality to the Star Wars prequels, which is so welcome and so loved. And it goes to show you the brilliance that George found inside Doug, because it really is one of those moments where George was able to pick him out at such a young age back in, I think it was for Return of the Jedi or Empire, and to bring him onto the film to be the lead designer for that. And now, all these years later, he's considered to be, right there hand in hand with Ralph McQuarrie. So is there another Asian creator or Asian actor maybe that you would like to point out? I know I want to give us a little bit of time to talk about some of our favorites.
I love Ming Na. She is truly she's been a consistent thread throughout my entire life. And I remember when they introduced her to The Mandalorian in season 1, I was so excited because I loved her on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And of course, she was my favorite Disney princess. I absolutely loved Mulan as a child that came out. I think that was the first theatrical Disney movie release when I was a child. So she was my Disney princess. And so I was so excited that she was going to be in Star Wars. And then they killed her. And I was like, no, you did not bring Ming Na on just to kill her off. So I was absolutely beside myself when she returned in season 2. And I love the way that she interacts with fans. And I love that she is an absolute proud geek and nerd. watching videos of her at conventions is like such a highlight. Just the way that she's so excited to see people like cosplaying and to like cosplay herself, and knowing that somebody who not only has this like rich history with Disney is also like a huge fan of Star Wars and is now getting to live her own like childhood dreams is like so much fun to see. And I just love her, and I cannot wait for the Book of Boba Fett. I actually am wearing my Boba Fett shirt.
No way.
Yes. And I'm just so excited to see what her character gets to show us. I'm very excited for that, because I think it's going to be a different kind of TV show, and just to have two leads like Ming-Na and Tim, you know, at the front of the show with Robert Rodriguez as like a showrunner is so exciting.
Yeah, you're looking at the biggest, and I will stress, like, no one can top me. I don't care who it is. The biggest Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan on the planet. I've seen all the seasons. I've done after shows. I've done.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so much. I've been following that show for such a long time. My buddy Dorian, shout out to Dorian Parks from Geeks of Color. And I have been talking about that show forever. And yes, I was the exact same way, where I was like, Ming-Na Wen, the Cavalry's here. She's going to be in Star Wars. She's going to be in like every episode, main character. And then all of a sudden they kill her off in the worst way possible. And I was like, no.
The worst actor they ever brought a show.
And he kills Ming-Na. I was like, nah. That's not how it works, man. That's not how it goes. This is literally Agent May. Like, she is the agent.
Like, you cannot kill off Marvel royalty and Disney princess royalty. Just not happening.
Also, I'm so with you on Mulan. Mulan is always fighting for like my favorite top. It's in my top 2 of not Star Wars, but of Disney movies. I always put Aladdin and Mulan as like my 2 favorites. But Mulan has like the bangers. Straight up. Oh my
gosh, the music in that show.
Make a Man Out of You, Girl Worth Fighting For, Reflection. Like, man, every song is like a straight up like banger. Like, every time you see it, you're just like, damn, they're about to sing like the best song ever. I love Mulan. I love it. Yeah. I also want to give a shout out. Obviously, the big one, or one of the big ones, I feel, is Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose Tico. I think she did just an amazing job as Rose in The Last Jedi. I love The Last Jedi, and I love her involvement in that movie and in that story. Obviously, her, what her sister Paige meant as well was also really significant. So shout out to Paige Tico as well. But what Kelly Marie Tran meant to a lot of Star Wars fans and a lot of the Star Wars community cannot be overstated, because she was so significant. And I always tell the story, but I'll tell it to you, Maggie, is after walking out of The Last Jedi with my parents, I watch all the new Star Wars movies once opening night on my own or with my friends, and then once with my parents over the past like 5 years.
I love that.
And when I saw my parents, I will never forget going up to my mom and obviously telling her like, hey mom, what'd you think? What was your favorite? And she's obviously like the biggest Rey fan there is. And she's like, oh, Rey kicked that. Rey did this, Rey did that. And I was like, yeah, mom. And I go up to my dad and I ask him the same question. And I'm like, Dad, what'd you think? Who's your favorite? And he's like, I really like that small engineer girl. She was really cool. She really stole that movie. She took that. And I was like, you're talking about Rose? And she's like, yeah, Rose. She was awesome. And I was like, yo, okay. But the
your
way
father has taste.
Yeah, the way that he was so impressed with Rose Tico, I thought was so nice, because it was like, you know, Kylo and Rey fighting and Luke coming back. But he was like, nah, Rose, man, Rose. Rose took that movie. So Kelly Marie Tran means so much. And obviously, in retrospect, it really is, if I'm being honest, I guess I can say, because it is my channel, I'm heartbroken by the way, not just Lucasfilm, but just like the fan base, the community didn't reach out and support Kelly the way we should have, especially knowing she is a woman of color. And I think it really is disappointing, especially in retrospect. Even in the moment, I thought it was disappointing, but in retrospect now more than ever, how we could have gathered around her and supported her quite a bit more when she was being continually harassed. Obviously, we as fans were starting to get a little bit too used to it as far as harassment, because of John Boyega and because of Daisy Ridley, who got constant harassment. That one that came back to Kelly Marie Tran, we were just like, yeah, it's normal, you know, it sucks, but whatever. But when we should have been like, no, this is different. This is specifically targeted. This is specifically a race issue as well that we shouldn't ignore. And it is a woman of color, so it is something that's different. We shouldn't take every type of abuse the same way, and we should acknowledge every single one, but we should also be gathering around people and supporting one another. So I just want to point that out as well.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, it really is disappointing, because I really do feel like Kelly Marie Tran seems like such a sweet person, and the way that she got bombarded by hatred is really unthinkable. And
it was so sad too, because she's like a huge fan of Star Wars too. I remember, I can't remember if it was College Humor that she worked for before, but one of those like early YouTube to Facebook like comedy sketch groups that she had done videos with before Star Wars. I remember like her conversations about being a Star Wars fan before she became a Star Wars star. And so it has to have like even worse pain to have something you love turned against you. And I mean, I think we saw some of that in that interview she did. It was either Variety or Vanity Fair, where she talked about like having the joy sucked out of it for her. And that's just, no one should go through that. But
yeah, and it also is like, if you really think about it, Maggie, it kind of is remarkable. The kind of, it's just, I always find it bizarre. And I've talked about this before ad nauseum, the irony, the weird, ironic situation as far as like Star Wars fans who clearly don't get what the story means. It's like everything the opposite of what they believe. It's like, isn't that what the rebels were fighting against?
Yes.
But not just that, but on a different level, on a purely story-based level. This is all based on samurai films. Samurai films clearly coming from Japan and coming from stories that are not from the US. These are not American-based stories. They're inspired by actual Asian stories. And the Jedi are inspired by actual Asian, legendary characters in history. So it's one of those moments where it's extra disappointing when you see these kind of fan base come out and just come in full hatred towards a community that clearly actually inspired Star Wars. It's even more disappointing. But I want to give us a chance to give a couple more shout outs. Obviously, we have some legendary actors like Donnie Yen coming in for Rogue One. What'd you think when Donnie Yen was cast?
Oh my gosh. I was like, Donnie Yen's joining Star Wars. This is exciting, because he's such a like god tier actor. And he's so good.
Have you seen Ip Man before that?
Yes.
Yeah. That was kind of my reference too, was Ip Man. And I was like, yo, they brought Ip Man in Star Wars. This is going to be incredible. But Donnie Yen is another character who brought a lot to his character of Chirrut Îmwe inside the Star Wars universe. And obviously there's endless characters. There's Telsich in Return of the Jedi. Shout out to Telsich. That's a deep cut. But he's also there, and it's kind of significant too. At least I feel it's significant. But there's so many great characters and creators inside the Star Wars community that have given so much story and so much to this universe, which is why I kind of want to lean towards more women of color as well, because I really do feel like women of color are kind of the heart inside the Star Wars universe, and I want to see more of them, if I'm being honest, because as much as we've got from Rose, I still feel like we didn't get enough. And as much as we've gotten from other characters, as far as characters, women of color, we still only get minor bit parts and never really too many speaking lines. As far as if you look back at the prequels, for example, and you see all the Jedi women of color I don't think they ever speak inside the Star Wars movies. So it's one of those things where it's a perfect opportunity for us going into the future when we have someone who is VP of production, I believe. I'm going to forget her name, but do you know who I'm referencing?
I know you were talking about, but the name is escaping me.
It's also escaping me, and I'm very disappointed in myself.
I'm terrible at remembering names, so. but
they just put the new VP of production, who's coming from a Netflix, and she's also Asian. She's an Indian as well. So it's one of those things where they're starting to notice this, and obviously Deborah Chow, who now is getting a lot more power and ownership over her work inside Star Wars. What do you think of Deborah Chow, the work she's done already, and your excitement for the work that's to come.
Oh my gosh, she was so good with The Mandalorian, and I was so happy that they saw her work and had such confidence in her that they were like, here's a show, run with it. Like, it makes me excited when I see Star Wars giving projects to people who have put in the hard work for years and like deserve this opportunity to shine. And especially when it's women, especially when it's, you know, women of color, it's so exciting because honestly, it's very uneven in terms of directors in Hollywood that make it. I mean, most of them are white men. So it's always very encouraging to see when things are starting to shift. And she's such a good storyteller. The way that she picks up on the little things and make these very human moments out of seemingly kind of just okay, like, you know, I'm saying this wrong, but like when a scene is just kind of like, it's okay, but she makes it so much more because she brings that human connection into it in such a really unique way.
Yeah, so help me out here as far as her episodes in The Mandalorian, at least for season 1. That was episode 6, yes. I believe, which is the one where all the Mandalorians show up at the very end, and it's that giant action sequence, right?
Yes.
Talk to me about that episode specifically, what your first thoughts were for that.
Oh my gosh. One of my favorites. I think between her and Bryce Dallas Howard, those are the 2 episodes that really stand out from the first season.
What about the second season? What's your favorite? I'm just curious.
Oh, you know, I really do like the finale. Like, absolutely love the finale. And Robert Rodriguez's episode, Tragedy, is actually my number 1. Because I'm a huge Robert Rodriguez fan, like lifelong. Spy Kids was my thing as a child. So that was like the episode I was looking forward to the entire season.
Yeah, I have a not so secret love for Robert Rodriguez. Specifically, obviously Spy Kids is one, but also because I'm a massive proponent of like Latino filmmakers, and I have been for years. Like my entire life has just been like, get to Hollywood and try to do something when it comes to Latin filmmaking. I'm currently still in the process, TBD. We'll see what happens. But Robert Rodriguez was definitely one of my inspirations. And he's always made it a point, regardless of what his film is about, to cast a Latino or Latina in one of his major leading roles, not just like a side character role, but a leading role. Obviously his first film, with Desperado, is one of the biggest examples of that.
So good.
But he kind of took that like, hey, stereotypical like Latino bandolero, like a straight up bandolero is like straight up like a gunslinger, classic Latin thing. And he's like, I'm gonna lean into it and I'm gonna just make this like this crazy cool like assassin guy who is Antonio Banderas in the movie. And who starts out the movie singing mariachi songs. Me gusta tocar guitarra. I could sing the whole song, but it's one of my favorite movies, and his style of like bringing in Latinos even went into Alita Battle Angel with Rosa Salazar, who I thought was incredible as Alita, and who is a full-blown Latina, and she reps it so much, and I love that for her. So Robert Rodriguez and Star Wars for me is just like, yo, it's over.
That was like, when they announced it, I was like, that's it. I don't care who else they announced. This is the one. This is the episode for me. And then he got to bring Boba Fett to life in a whole new way, and bringing in Fennec Shand, and then the announcement that he was going to be involved with the Book of Boba Fett. I was just like, I don't have to worry about the show. I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to surpass The Mandalorian for me, because I know his storytelling style. I still think about his projects. The TV series From Dusk Till Dawn was like one of my favorite shows. I still talk about it 5 years after the finale. So I'm confident Book of Boba Fett's just going to like knock things out of the park.
Yeah, and the way he brought Tamora Morrison back, and my love personally, like really personally, for Tamora Morrison and Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, and how I was like obsessed with him and obsessed with Tamora himself, because full disclosure, as an avid watcher of Spartacus, I love Spartacus. He's in season 1, and he plays Doctore, and he's able to play this classic like Maori, like Islander warrior, and he leans into that. And Robert Rodriguez was just like, that's Boba Fett. I'm leaning into your actual culture warrior style to make like a Boba Fett action sequence. And I honestly think that's what George Lucas was looking towards when he casted Tamora. He wanted like, who's the only type of person in the galaxy to go head to head with the Jedi in a battle, like in a martial arts battle or just in a battle itself. And he was like, those Maori warriors have this beautiful culture of like warrior mentality that I want to cast that kind of actor to bring that fire and that passion into that role. And I really do feel like that's why, to me personally, a lot of people gave George grief as far as going back and dubbing Boba Fett's lines and giving him that Kiwi accent. And I was like, give me more Boba Fett. I want to see more Islanders and more Kiwis and more people of color in Star Wars. And who better to be a warrior than people who have that warrior mentality and that warrior culture that they love so much. So I thought it was genius. I loved it.
I
loved
did
it
too.
so much.
And I would not have expected myself to be wearing a Boba Fett t-shirt a year ago. I was like so not excited about the prospect of Boba Fett, but everything about that episode and the way the character was presented, I'm still hugely a fan of the idea of him like saving Fennec, and like that to me shows him as so much more than just this bounty hunter, that there's like this heart underneath the armor, which is another reason why I'm so excited to see where that like story goes for those two characters. But I loved him. He is like all of the interviews I've watched with him are just like the best thing. He's such a highlight. And all those like behind the scenes videos of like him and Robert playing the guitar on set, like that's a musical set.
Apparently that's like a real thing.
It is?
Like
they have a band.
Yeah, like a buddy of mine went to a press event for Alita Battle Angel. And he told me, he's like, dude, dead ass, like he's straight up with the guitar the whole time. He never let that thing go. Like he's just played it. He thinks it's part of his set culture and the way he establishes it. And I was like, hey man, yeah, I'd probably be the same if I could play the guitar. I've always wanted to. But yeah, and by the way, the EVP of physical production, her name is Sen Gupta, who's another example of a woman of color behind the scenes, like a Deborah Chow. And it kind of leads into my last portion of today's episode, which is looking towards the future of what Deborah Chow is going to bring as far as her future stories inside the Star Wars universe. What do you think her role can grow beyond what it currently is, even though it is pretty massive so far?
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Or that she brings in people, more women of color creators and directors and creatives, because I think that, I say this as a white woman, that I think that women of color and men of color are more inclined to bring in more people of color for their teams, and then that helps them get elevated. And I think that is so important, because it's one thing for like people to just like be actors or be behind the camera, but it's another thing to actually give them the ability to be in control of the stories and the people that they bring into their stories.
Yeah, and I feel like it's time, right? I feel like it's one of those things where, how do we get characters like, I mean, I'll love Clone Wars animated series, but specifically live action, right? But how do we get characters like Adigalia or even Deepa Bilaba, or Jedi who are clearly women of color, and not give them a chance to shine? And obviously, I just said Rey's in my top 4 all-time Star Wars characters, so all love towards Rey. But I always want to have an opportunity to, maybe she will have an opportunity, maybe through of Jedi women of color. What do you think of that idea?
I would love that. I always say on Let's Talk About Star Wars that there is never been a time in my life that I haven't felt represented in Star Wars as a white woman with brown hair. Like that's every Star Wars female character. So it is past time for more people to see themselves in a Star Wars film or in a Star Wars series or running the whole thing. So I'm ready for it. Yeah.
And as much as I love, and again, I will keep saying I love Rey and how much she means to me personally, just like on a personal level. And I won't get into it here. I've probably gotten into it in the past. As far as what she meant to so many little girls around the world and so many older girls around the world, like someone like my mom, who have not really seen that before, as far as like that level of like responsibility being placed on her shoulders, and Rey just like lifting it over her shoulders and just kicking ass was something truly special to see for a lot of little girls. And that's why a lot of people who always come at me and be like, the sequels weren't a failure. And I was like, how do you define failure when like half the population who saw this movie were automatically on board, and then a lot of us like me also appreciated it on a different level. I will always appreciate Rey, but even I will say I think it's time to give women of color more of a chance to shine, and more of a chance to have a larger role inside the Star Wars universe. But then they also
have to make sure they protect them as well.
Yeah, because I really do feel like
we need to fix.
It is, and it's really important how, I didn't want to say this, but I'll say it. Because I tried to say it last week, and I was kind of like dodging and dancing, and I was like tiptoeing around it. But I really do feel like it's startling to me how there's a private company out there that is currently the biggest company in the world, and I'm talking about Google, who owns basically the go-to video streaming service, and they allow groups of people to literally spew hatred, like completely unbelievable statements of hate crimes and hate rhetoric, and just a complete rabbit hole of neo-Nazi terrorist actions and terrorist mentalities, and just an ideology that is purely driven by that kind of mentality, and claim it's all part of some sort of Star Wars fandom. And it's just, it's clearly disguised as that. And the way that it's been on this platform that I'm currently on, so I'm even calling out this platform, it's just startling to me. To me, it's just baffling, because to me, it's like, this is a private company. If you want to spew that kind of stuff, go make your website, dude. Like, go make your blog, go do whatever you want. But this is a private platform, and it's the biggest video streaming service on the planet, with the biggest company on the planet, that's Google, running it. So to me, it's about time that they should have lost their platform years ago.
Long time ago. And
it really has, in my opinion, destroyed a lot of what the Star Wars community has been, even though there's been a lot of negativity in the past, and a lot of people have been like, oh, this was here in the prequels, and this was here way before, and it sure was, but now it's just reached a different type of mentality and a different type of rhetoric that is disguised as a criticism of the story, when in reality, it's just a platform for them to spew their hatred and their racist rhetoric. And I'm kind of done with it, to be honest, guys. So for anyone who's still watching and still listening, I want to say, go support your Asian creators, go support people inside the Star Wars community that are from Asian descent, and go show them love, because I really do feel like that matters. And go support Stop AAIP Hate, because that's currently what I'm supporting right now. And I want to make sure that people have enough time to process the grief and the sorrow that these communities are facing, and not just give it 24 hours and then move on, because I never feel like that's enough. And obviously this is all a process, guys. This isn't just one step or two steps and then just give it a week or two. This is definitely a growing situation, and a growing time where we need to be able to move around and be liquid as far as our movement when supporting different communities. And it's possible. Like, a lot of people are like, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do it. It's like, yes, you can. It's not that hard to dispel hate crimes. Guys, this is like the easiest thing you can do. So if you can, go do that, because I really do feel like that's what the Star Wars community should represent. Yeah, awesome. Any other things you want to, I want to plug your YouTube channel. Let's talk about Star Wars. What are you currently talking about in Star Wars?
Oh my gosh. So last week I was like, I can't do an actual episode. So I actually talked about the API fundraiser.
Oh, no way.
As well as a couple of creators that were doing pre-orders that all of the proceeds went to the fund. Because I was just like, yeah, I can't do fun stuff. But, I'm going to be talking about some of the upcoming books. That's so much stuff. And then, of course, when the Bad Batch starts, I'm going to be all over that, talking about that weekly. So I'm very excited for that.
Fennec Shan. I can't wait.
Gosh.
She's
I was
it.
like so not excited for the Bad Batch because it was like, I like the clones, but like all my favorite clones are dead. So it was like the Bad Batch will be fine. I'll watch it. And then they showed Fennec and I was like, all right, I'm here every week. I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, I was that one guy who really liked, and I think it's just me and Alden who did.
Alden.
The sisters, what were the sisters' names in Clone Wars season 7?
The Martinez sisters.
Yeah, the Mortez, right? The Mortez.
Mortez, yes. Mortez.
Yeah. I was like, bro, these are like my actual like homegirls. These are like, they like legit, like I felt them so much. And I was like, I love these girls, man. I'm vibing with these girls. And everyone was like, you're wrong, dude. They sucked. And I was like, I don't know. I like them more than I did the Bad Batch. So I was also kind of like, eh. But now I'm 100% on board and I still can't wait. And I still love the classic, like, you know, you got the sniper, you got the leader, you got the big
it's like
guy.
a video game.
Yeah.
You've got your heavy.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally, my final question to you is about the Star Wars book. Since you're so into it right now, do you think that this might be where they're going to develop more future stories as far as live action, maybe even films?
Oh, I really hope so. I am so into the High Republic. As a Star Wars fan and also as some of the topics that they're talking about. I'm sure if anybody's ever listened to any of my other cameos here recently on shows, I talk about the colonialism aspects of some of the Jedi stuff that is being hinted on. And I'm like really hoping they develop it more because as a historian and an anthropologist, it's like very fascinating to see some of these topics that I've always been interested in with Star Wars finally hinted at and talked about. And I'm hoping that there's more of this, maybe the Jedis aren't always the good guys, kind of storytelling. And I would love to see that on screen. And I'm really hoping that, you know, we see some of these new characters that we're being introduced to on TV or in a movie. I know we're not getting a Star Wars movie for a while, but I'm willing to sit back and let the High Republic books fully develop and then see something on screen. There's so much good storytelling and so many diverse voices, not only in the storytelling, but also in the characters that we're reading. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And if I'm being honest, I'm so excited for the Taika Waititi movie. I think I might be more excited for that than certain shows, even though that might be a controversial statement now because everyone's so on board. But there's to me, there's something just so truly special about a Star Wars film. As great as the shows are and as much as you can get as far as story development and character development, I feel like a movie, like a Star Wars film, is still like the go-to thing to enjoy for a Star Wars fan or for just a layman Star Wars fan. I think that's like the best way to get people into Star Wars. So I'm excited for the movie.
The standalones are so good, like Rogue One, Solo. I want to see more of that.
I agree. Awesome, Maggie. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Maggie of the Town, and I have a Linktree link in my bio so that you can very easily find all of my different various places. I'm all over the place. Star Wars friends. Let's talk about Star Wars, writing about Star Wars at Your Money Geek, doing live streams with a Geeky Waffle. I'm everywhere, and I look forward to seeing all of you there.
There you go, guys. Go follow Maggie and support her and all that she does. Thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun, Maggie.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Yeah. Obviously, guys, you can follow me at Squad Leader Race. Go follow our channel at First Cut on YouTube and follow our social media at First Cut TMO. Thank you to my buddies RB3 and Sabrina for supporting me and everything as well in the behind the scenes and in everything else that I do here. Alrighty, guys, for the First Cut crew and for the Sabacc the Block crew, we are peacing out.